but I'm Dzinoreva. I am the Public Policy Programs Manager for Facebook. And the gentleman who was on before me spoke quite a bit about Facebook. Unfortunately, I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. We are from the same country, but I'm unfortunately not Mark. So hopefully I can give you just as much, if not a little bit more of insight of pretty much how digital platforms are impacting entrepreneurship, which is going to be the focus of my talk today. So just so you know, I oversee small business development across the continent. And I have another colleague tomorrow who's going to be doing a masterclass specifically on best practices and tools on how to actually use Facebook and Instagram for business. But more so what I'm going to be doing today is taking you through some of the fundamentals of just what opportunities digital has as a whole to help entrepreneurs. So, just so your expectations are met, I won't be sort of going through a lot of like hands-on best practices, but definitely I hope you guys are coming back tomorrow because my colleague will be going through that tomorrow at 1 p.m. So I'm hoping I figure out how to use this clicker properly, so we'll figure this out. So as I said, I am the Public Policy Programs Manager for Facebook. And one of the amazing things about my job is that I get the opportunity to go out into communities all across the continent and to help entrepreneurs to pretty much understand how to leverage digital tools to grow their respective businesses. We don't always necessarily talk just about Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, but we like to showcase the variety of different options that businesses have to take advantage of. And a lot of times those that I'm working with are very they're businesses that may have been operating for up to 10 to 12 years, or someone who may have been operating for up to 10 to 5 months. But their knowledge of digital is pretty much at the same level. So we're taking businesses who are either new to the online space or who are not online at all, and pretty much showing what opportunities can be taken advantage of. So now that I've introduced myself, I'd love to just have a better idea of who's in the room so I can sort of speak to your needs. And I see there's so many people spread out all over. Is South Africa in the house? Representing, absolutely. I'm old school hip hop, so I can't help myself. How about Nigeria? One Nigerian, two, okay. Kenya, in the front row. The US? There we go, my peoples are here as well. Zimbabwe? Yes. All right, lovely. My last name is Dzinoreva, so I'm American by birth, but I'm Zimbabwean by love. So, and I've been living in South Africa for about 4 years. So I have to commend the Global Entrepreneurship Congress for doing this on the continent because, my goodness, I mean, nowhere in the world where you can find such a huge array of people who are just naturally entrepreneurs. Several Africans across the continent are making do for themselves and innovating so many amazing platforms and programs to grow their businesses. So it's amazing that I'm able to kind of come on and actually show how digital can take a lot of that work to the next level. So this is a really amazing time for me to be doing the business, the work that I'm actually doing. Why? Because entrepreneurship is just going to a totally different level. Digital is allowing people to disrupt so many different traditional business models in ways that haven't been done before. So here we have one of the largest, or if not the largest taxi company in the world that actually owns no physical taxis. We have one of the largest accommodation companies in the world that owns absolutely no real estate. And one of the most influential retailers in the world that actually has no actual inventory. If you just look here on the continent, connectivity, and I love this, the idea of connectivity inspires creativity, and I'll be touching on that a couple of times this afternoon. Right here on the continent, there are so many amazing businesses that have been developed. Jobberman, for instance, was developed out of a college dorm room where two guys basically said, let's create a digital platform that can house some of the best jobs across the country. And now Jobberman is probably one of the biggest job searching sites in Nigeria with almost 500 jobs that are being searched for on the platform every single day. Balogun Market is probably one of the largest markets in Nigeria as well, and this is allowing people who are actually selling goods and services in a physical market to now access new consumers through a digital platform. Fun Kids is a platform that was actually developed out of Kenya as well, when a young woman and her husband were expecting their first child and realized they couldn't find, other places where they could find actual good furniture for their kids. They developed some really amazing children's furniture and have been using digital platforms to find new audiences for that as well. And these are just a few like really small examples of things that are happening here on the continent. And I know there's so many that I'm not even touching on. This is also a really interesting time because for the first time, and I mean, I'm almost 40, so I don't know what happened before 40 years ago, but for the first time in a very long time, or if in history, new languages are being created because of digital platforms. LOL, 20 years ago, what is LOL? If someone saw that, they would have absolutely no idea what LOL meant. SMH, BTW, all of these are terms that weren't actually created by any company, but by humans, by people. In an effort to allow us to communicate more effectively on digital platforms, we've created our own language. I mean, how amazing is that? My family's Brazilian, so when I go to Brazil, instead of LOL, they use RSRS, which is short for risos. So human beings, regardless of what language we speak, we're all communicating in different ways on digital platforms, and we're creating our own languages to do so. So here's just a little guess. What do you guys think was the most popular word in 2015 in the Oxford English Dictionary? I mean, this is kind of telling you, but just to allow. In 2015, the emoji, tears of joy, was the most used emoji in that year. Even if you look back to 2013, selfie was the word of the year. What is a selfie? If you went back in time and you asked someone what a selfie was 20 years ago, that word never even existed. So it's a really exciting time to be around where languages are actually being created. And so for the first time, we see people are connected in ways that they've never been before. And a lot of this is due to two really primary areas. One, the movement of people, and two, the movement of ideas. And if you want to look at that, why is some of this happening? Look, first of all, for the movement of people, a lot of this is economic based. So you have people who are moving for job opportunities, they're looking for ways to make more money, or where they're currently living, there's not much opportunity, so they're moving to other places to do that. Personal reasons as well. Technology is making it so easy to actually grasp and have an understanding of what life might be in another place outside of your own. Virtual reality tools are making it easy for you to sit in your living room and virtually be in a totally different setting. And there's so much, I mean, I'm telling you, I've been desiring to go to Tokyo for many, many years. And I had an opportunity to actually take part in an Oculus Rift sort of experimentation while I was in Menlo Park in California. And I was so fascinated by the fact that I'm physically in this one place, but my body could be transported to another. So imagine that if you're now inspired to go to a new place, technology is now giving you those ideas to actually do so. So people are moving for personal reasons because they're now having more access to be inspired to have that sort of movement. And the last is political. I mean, obviously, we're in quite a bit of a flux in a lot of nations around the world, so people are actually moving to places where they can be more safe and so forth as well. So a connected planet also fuels a movement of ideas as well. And a lot of these ideas are definitely related to technology. So if you think about it, about 20 years ago, only 3% of the population had access to a mobile phone. Now, 2/3 of the population have access to a mobile phone. 20 years ago, only 1% of the population had access to the internet, and now 1/3 of the population has access to the internet. And in 2018, we're expecting that 3.82 billion people will be connected to the internet. So imagine what that really means and what the implications are behind that. I love this one, because this is actually a quite telling sort of look at where we are and how people are consuming content. You know, it took television almost 60 years to reach 1 billion households. It's taken smartphones 5, which is huge. So if you think about it, right, people are still consuming radio, they're still consuming traditional forms of media, but the way in which we're consuming media on digital and mobile platforms is growing continuously. So as a business, it's good to always sort of think about, how does my company fit into this mix? I'm never one to sort of say, forget about traditional media, forget about flyers or outdoor campaigns and only go to digital. But you must realize that people are consuming content on multiple platforms and in multiple screens. So this is a really important thing to take into consideration. And in 2014 alone, digital platforms such as digital and mobile surpassed a traditional medium for the first time in a very, very long time. So if we just want to look at Facebook alone, there are 1.86 billion people around the world who access Facebook every single month. And of that, this format is a little bit off, but I'll just tell you, it's almost 1.3 billion who are actively returning every single day. And on mobile phones, 1.74 billion people are accessing on their mobile phones, and 1.14 are accessing via mobile phones every single day. If we want to just look at South Africa alone, we have 15 million people who are accessing Facebook every month, and 14 million people who are accessing the platform on their mobile phones. So that's almost 93% of South Africans who are accessing our platform on their phones. And if you want to look at why many South Africans are actually on the platform, 78% are accessing it to connect with friends, 77% are using it to keep up to date with friends as well, 55% are using it to voice opinions, and another 55% are using it to access news and information. And that's not very different from how people are also looking to Twitter. So Twitter traditionally had been a way for people to access various bits of news as it was dropping. But Facebook is definitely a similar platform where people are coming for that same level of information. So these statistics are for South Africa, but they're not that different than the rest of the EMEA region. So I think in South Africa, these statistics are slightly higher, but this definitely kind of gives you a nice idea as to why people are coming onto our platform. And so with that said, there's no question that Facebook is more than a simple hardware company. It's not just a social media platform. It's a place for people to connect. It's a place where people are sharing their likes, their dislikes, their passions, the things that they're upset about. As I'm sure we all know, there's with 1.8 billion people on a platform who can have an instant audience, there are a variety of things that people are sharing and expressing and coming together about on our platforms. And because of that, we are a company that's constantly trying to understand people, first and foremost. What are they liking? What are they disliking? Where are they located? How are they sort of moving? And that's the only way that we can actually create products and services that really meet their needs. So with all of this connectivity and people coming onto our platform, and we're using Facebook as an example, but we have a quite substantial number of people. So think about this as it pertains to how people are connecting on digital platforms as a whole. People are connecting with each other. They're sharing information. And as a result, are becoming what we're calling global citizens, right? And by nature of the fact that I can be someone based here in Johannesburg, and I'm communicating with a friend of mine in São Paulo, but then I might be sending a WhatsApp message to my aunt in Chicago. And all of that can be happening simultaneously at the same time. And I'm pulling from various influences and cultures at the same time as well. So naturally, whether you want to admit it or not, we're all becoming global citizens to some degree. And with that, we're becoming global consumers. And these are global consumers who are based in central places, but have desires to consume products from a variety of places as well. So McKinsey just recently released a report that basically showed that 360 million people in 2015 alone took part in some sort of cross-border e-commerce in that year. And this is happening in a lot of different ways. So just to give you a little bit of an example, 84% of those in the UK expressed an intent to buy something in the in the US. 66% of people in Taiwan expressed an interest in buying products from the UK. 93% of consumers in Indonesia expressed an interest in buying product in France. And 50% of consumers in Russia expressed that they desired to actually buy products in Japan. So this changes that notion that maybe we once had of the way that people are trading products and services. Maybe traditionally we were thinking North America and Europe may have been the primary areas of trade. But now digital is allowing people from all over the world to trade ideas, products, and services every single day. There's an interconnected web of trade and business that's happening, and that's definitely due to digital platforms. So if we want to look at just those businesses that are actually doing that work, because this is happening, so it's reaching far beyond desire and intent. 30% of small businesses that are currently on Facebook, meaning they have an actual business page on Facebook, have followers from another country. In addition, 1 billion people on Facebook are connected to at least one business in a foreign country. So what does this all ultimately mean, right? Fine, you think you're servicing your consumer who's based in your respective country, but now you have an opportunity to reach far beyond where you're located. So, like I said, connectivity inspires creativity. And when I said that these companies are connected or consumers who are connected to businesses that are outside of their borders, there are two things that could come out of that. One, very basic, right? You are now consuming product from abroad. And as an entrepreneur in Russia, I'm now able to make money from someone who's based in Brazil. Great, very simple, straightforward. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur, just because you're connected doesn't mean you're necessarily spending money. Connected means you could be following how this other business in a similar market is operating. How are they speaking to their consumers? How well are they doing business? How are they running their Facebook or their Instagram pages? Getting that type of insight could inspire a new idea that doesn't currently exist where you're located. Not everyone needs to necessarily reinvent the wheel. People are doing some great businesses all over the world, but the beauty of digital is that you can gain that inspiration just by being connected, whether just by access or by actually engaging and talking to these business owners as well. That's where the beauty begins. But if you want to go back to the very basic idea of exchanging goods and services, back in the day, before technology, the idea of starting a business abroad was a little bit more complicated, right? You said, I actually want to expand my business and go someplace else outside of where I'm currently located. I now have to think about where I'm going to open an office, who am I actually going to hire. I am being told that I need to try to finish in the next 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to make that happen. How many people do I need to hire? Do I need to start looking at getting a license to build a business? But now, you can just pretty much look at its data, its goods and services. Digital is allowing you to sort of take away from a lot of those specific issues. If you look at a lot of virtual businesses that are happening, where things like music, streaming services, these are the types of things that people are actually making money off of that need no bricks and mortar sort of service or business. If you look at those who are exchanging on eBay, for instance, 90% of those on eBay are selling cross-border. And you could be just someone who's a college student who needs to sell their latest sneakers that they just never wore, and they're selling it across borders, where less than 25% of traditional businesses that are not connected or not doing business online are selling cross-border. So my intent in showing all of this stuff to you guys, if you're wondering why are we talking about cross-border business, is that I want to inspire that idea that just because you may be based in a central place, that digital has now allowed us new, amazing opportunities to exchange products, ideas, things with other businesses, and actually reach out and gain new consumers from other places as well, and that Facebook has quite a few products that would allow you to do that. So connectivity is definitely sort of opening doors to emerging markets. 85% of the world's population are in emerging markets. And of that, 90% of these guys are under 30 years of age. So what does that really mean, and why is that important, right? If you're able to get someone who is under 30 years of age and you are introducing your product or service, you have an opportunity to pretty much turn someone on to your business and make them a loyal customer for life. If you do so in a way that's smart and innovative, that's a huge opportunity. If you look at one key emerging market in particular, is there anyone here from India by the chance? No one. Oh, way in the back, okay. 38% of Indian internet users made a cross-border purchase in 2015. So what does that mean? If you think about the population of India alone, if you're a small business or an entrepreneur based in wherever, right? And you're able to get even a percentage of that 38%. You know how many people are in India? That's huge. If you're able to get even a little bit of that and tap into those consumers, that can make a pretty huge difference to your business. So what does all this mean for the entrepreneurship community? Well, Facebook has quite a few platforms and things that can make it a little bit easier for you to access this. One of these is Facebook IQ. So Facebook IQ is probably the simplest thing that I can share with you today. It's simply a website that you can go to that gives you really amazing insights on people and how people are moving, not just on our platforms, but on other digital platforms as well. So you can just go to insights.fb.com, check it out at any time. You can also sign up for email updates, and you can also follow us on Facebook, and you'll get ongoing information. So we have a team of researchers and data analysts who are looking at a variety of different consumer habits that can help marketers or business leaders like yourselves to leverage, to make the most for your business. Another is Audience Insights. So Audience Insights is something that's available for anyone who has a business page on our platform, whether you're operating locally or globally. So Audience Insights primarily gives you just that, insights on your audience. It can show you how your page is performing, who's coming to your page, how old are they, what their gender is, where they're located, what are their likes, their dislikes. Obviously, we're sharing constantly on all of our platforms on Facebook. So this is the type of data that Audience Insights will allow you to access. And the great thing is that even if you are you're interested in operating internationally, Audience Insights is now available to give you that same bit of information outside of your respective market. So for instance, if you know that your consumer base are women between the ages of 18 to 30, they're college graduates, they love reading and they love partying on weekends, you can find similar audiences in other markets through the Audience Insights tool as well. Another one is Lookalike Audiences. So I didn't ask this earlier, but how many actual entrepreneurs are in the room right now who are running existing businesses? Okay, excellent. How many of you guys who raise your hand are currently, or when I say on Facebook, meaning you have a business Facebook page? Oh, sweet. Excellent. Okay, lovely. So I don't know how many of you guys are actually using these tools, but Lookalike Audiences allows you to take an existing database that you have outside of Facebook, right? So say you've already been collecting a database of your consumers and you have an Excel spreadsheet with names and email addresses. You can actually upload that list to Facebook and find other people who are just like them on our platforms. So first, Facebook will find if they're there in the first place, so you can now start communicating with these same people on Facebook. But it'll also find people who fit very similar profiles to those who you've already established are your key consumers. And now, I mean, previously this was only available to those who were operating in local markets. We've now allowed this tool to be used for people who are looking to expand to international audiences as well. I think this is stuck. Okay, no, it's not. So this is one example. SA Company is an outdoor company that was basically looking to branch out into international markets. They focused, a lot of their best consumers were using Facebook International Lookalike Audiences, like I mentioned, and they built that from their sign-up list. So after using Lookalike Audiences, they ended up reaching an international audience, which is exactly what they had wanted to do, and they grew their employee base from 1 to 50 and increased their sales by 37%. Another example is Hitway. Hitway is a Polish app. It's kind of like a dating social app where you can connect with people who you think are attractive and that sort of thing. These guys had established that they are targeting consumers in Africa and Asia specifically. And they were able to use Facebook's network of various tools, whether it's ad formats, audience analytics, monetization tools, to reach their key audiences. And as a result, they had over 3 million downloads of their app in less than 4 months, which is pretty amazing. I mean, I don't download too many apps, but I think 3 million in 4 months is pretty substantial. So I'm gonna go to this next element, messaging apps. How many of you guys who are currently running businesses are using messaging in some way, shape, or form to communicate with your consumers? Okay, anyone just holler, what are you guys using? I'm so deaf. LinkedIn for messaging. Okay, anyone else? WhatsApp? Where are you guys from? From Paraguay. Ah, excellent. From Brazil. Ah, como vai? Anyone else using any messaging apps? WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. What are you using with the sunglasses on it? Ah. Okay, well then that makes it in your fly, so that's even better. What are you using? All of them. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. I love to hear that because I find that we talk quite a bit about Facebook Messenger, which in Brazil is extremely popular. Here on the continent in Africa, a lot of people are really using WhatsApp in really innovative ways. And I love it because these are people who we've never actually engaged with, but they're coming up with some cool ways to really use these platforms. So messaging is great because obviously, people are doing it with their friends and family anyway. Because we're all using mobile phones so constantly, messaging has been the way that so many humans are just communicating and sharing with each other on a regular basis. And especially here on the continent, I know messaging is great because you spend a little bit less on data costs if you're just using maybe existing Wi-Fi than maybe sending text messages, which has traditionally been a lot more prevalent in places like the US and Europe. But messaging platforms are really great to sort of engage with customers, and people are doing that more and more often. So every month, people are exchanging over 1 billion messages with companies or organizations. And we're even finding that 63% of people who are messaging are saying that messaging with businesses has increased over the last few years, and they're expecting it to continue to increase as well. 56% are also saying that they really prefer to message a company than to have to sit through and wait on customer service, which is probably the most grueling process ever. If you can actually have a conversation and chat and get the answers that you need without having to speak with anyone, that just makes things so much quicker and much more efficient. And 61% actually like getting personalized messages from businesses. Are there any Ghanaians in the house? No one from Ghana. No one from Ghana. Ah, sweets, okay. I just got back from Ghana 2 weeks ago and had an amazing time, had a really great opportunity to meet some brilliant entrepreneurs. And there's one gentleman who's running a restaurant called Burger and Relish. He has 2 locations in Accra, and he's doing some really cool stuff with WhatsApp. So basically, you're at a restaurant, you're enjoying your meal. He's trained his wait staff to literally find out who looks like they're having a good time, who's enjoying their experience, and to kind of gauge who would be most comfortable giving their phone numbers over while they're eating or after they're finished. And he's developed a database of probably over 5,000 phone numbers of all of his key consumers, and he's then turned those into groups on WhatsApp, where he's now reaching out to these guys and then basically telling them about new events that are happening, new specials that they're offering. And it's great because messaging can be a bit intrusive, especially in things like WhatsApp, if people haven't opted in. But these are people who've said, yes, here's my number, gladly, please let me know. He has 2 locations. One location is known for having really great events. The other is known for having really great specials. And he's been able to craft the messages specifically to the consumers who are going to one location versus the other. So he's speaking directly to their needs, directly to what they want, and he's actually engaging them and creating more loyal consumers as well. And that's all from the power of using messaging. Skol in Brazil. One of the biggest beer brands in Brazil gets the thumbs up from my brasileiras in the front. And these guys were doing quite a bit of really interesting activations during the Olympics last year. And what they were doing is they developed a messenger bot. Out of those who are using messengers, anyone using messenger bots? Quite curious. Oh, great, love it, okay. Messenger bots is still quite new for Facebook, so we're still engaging a lot of companies on how they can utilize that. So messenger bots really allows you to create a conversation with instant replies based on things that people are opting in to know. So Skol had a number of different activations and events happening all over Rio during the actual Olympics, and they said, hey, sign up on our Facebook page so that we can send you updates on our events as they're happening. And as a result, they had 74.6% of people who had downloaded this option were actually reading their messages, which is huge. Anyone who knows any traditional email messaging campaign, to get 74.6% of reading rate, I think is pretty substantial. And 3.7% of those guys were reading messages per person. So think about Messenger, think about some of these tools and how you can actually sort of engage existing consumers. So in addition to helping people to sort of operate and run their businesses from an external perspective, there are quite a few ways that digital is impacting the way that people are running their businesses internally as well. And I love the future of work because it's one of those things where we love to talk about millennials, right? We all know that millennials are like the new thing. I'd say 50 years ago, probably, young people were looking to older people for cues on how to live life. Now I think that older people are really looking to younger people for what's cool and what's hip. So by 2020, we're saying that millennials are going to account for 50% of the global workforce. And what does that really mean, right? So the expectations are quite different now than they were a couple of years ago, in the way that companies are continuously growing globally. We have people who are based all over the world who are doing business within one particular organization, but someone may be based in New York, someone may be based in London, someone may be based in Johannesburg, but how can we now communicate in an effort to run a similar organization? People are spending less time in offices. Flexible office hours are becoming the expectation, not the norm. 9-to-5 business culture is not that cool, ever. I think I may have been the last generation where we were expected to really work from 9 to 5. So because of that, things are changing. The way that we're working is changing. And digital tools are allowing a lot of that to happen. So my first job in the industry, my first job out of college actually, was working in public relations. And I did that for about 15 years, actually. My very first job, we were faxing press releases, if you can imagine. And I remember like a reporter upset that I emailed him a press release and I didn't actually fax it to him. And the idea of that is crazy nowadays, right? But even email is on its way out. There's so many other new tools and ways that people are communicating. The email is becoming just one of many options and ways that you can communicate. So we're saying over 65% of C-level executives are saying that over the next 5 years, they're going to be using email less and less. And even 69% of C-level executives and businesses believe that company culture, specifically transparency and internal communication, will have a very critical, important role in their organization's ability to realize its mission. So with the change of the way that people are working, there's a number of different tools. There's Asana, there's obviously Skype and Hangouts and the way that we are communicating and doing VCs. It's interesting, even here in Johannesburg, if I'm having a call with someone in Cape Town, we don't pick up the phone anymore. We'd rather Skype or we'd rather use Hangouts, which is quite interesting. It's a local call. Why are we not just picking up the phone? We've become so accustomed to being able to see the person that we're communicating across. So there's so many great tools that are out there. But at Facebook, we have a platform called Workplace. So Workplace is really cool because this is something that we've been using at Facebook for a couple of years. And for me, it was quite difficult when I started because I'm on every social media platform possible, and now I'm on another one, but it's an internal social media platform. So Workplace is cool because it pretty much functions like Facebook, which most people know how to use, but instead of communicating with your friends and family, you're communicating with your colleagues. And it allows different departments to communicate with other departments. It allows for people to use things like groups to galvanize people within an organization to share information with each other. And it's definitely separate from your existing Facebook page. So your profile is completely different. It doesn't interfere with what you do on your personal page. But it's just another way for companies internally to communicate a bit more effectively. So Workplace is something really cool. If anyone's interested in learning more, I'll be around. I'd be happy to share more information on it. It is a platform that's free to any education institutions or NGOs that are interested in using. Another thing is hiring, right? If you are a small business or an entrepreneur, making a bad hiring decision could be detrimental to your business in a way that if you are Coca-Cola, you might have a bit more leeway. So if you're looking to hire someone, whether it's a contractor or whether it's a full-time person, you need to be able to use as many tools as possible to find that right person. 40% of small business owners in the US alone realize that filling jobs is a lot more difficult than maybe they ever anticipated. So as a result, Facebook now has jobs on Facebook. So this is something that currently is only available in the US, that may be rolling out over time in other markets. But you can pretty much use the huge database of 1.8 billion that are on our platform to post job openings that your organization is running that will show up on your feed and on your page as well. And it's a very easy process that also allows people to send in applications for jobs too. So quickly, now that I've kind of given you guys this overarching overview, what do you think it is that we really need to do to ensure the next generation of digital entrepreneurs? One of the things is education, right? I think it's one thing is to teach and prepare young people to go out for the world of work. But I think entrepreneurship is a mindset. I think the gentleman before it mentioned you can't teach passion, you can't teach drive, right? But you can start teaching people how to make money for themselves. If employment rates are decreasing in certain markets, how can someone now create a business for themselves? They don't have to run a huge business with 20 employees, but they might need to actually create something that they can actually leverage, a product or a service that they can push and make money off of themselves. It's that thinking that should be, in my opinion, incorporated as early as primary to secondary schools. And I commend those organizations that are doing that really well. Here in South Africa, you have the Raymond Ackerman Academy that takes people after they've matriculated. The African Leadership Academy is putting out some amazing young talent, driven by the spirit of leadership. But what they're doing is the minute someone comes into that school, they're taught to run a business. Right? And what does that do? Even if you have no desire to actually run a business, you start thinking like an entrepreneur. And more actual companies, even if you decide to work for a company, they want and they need people with an entrepreneurial spirit. So a lot of that really requires that educational institutions start thinking about entrepreneurship and how to shape the future generation of entrepreneurs on a regular basis. And not only regular entrepreneurship, let's think about digital entrepreneurship. Let's think about the range of opportunities that digital provides, whether it's in coming up with a new digital platform, or even if you're running a bricks and mortar business, how you need to incorporate digital in some way, shape, or form in the way that you're marketing your business. Another is digital skills. So even if you come outside of the traditional education structure, how are we teaching digital skills to everyone, to the 50-year-old who's running a business? Right now, we're launching in Nigeria and South Africa, we just launched last week officially, a program where we're training small businesses across the country. And we're training small businesses in township economies, in traditional settings, women entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, tourism businesses. Our goal is to reach as many small businesses as possible and just to teach them the fundamentals of digital skills. At the very basic, how are you now searchable if someone's looking for your business online? How do you really understand that Facebook is more than just posting really cool pictures of what you did last night and talking to your mom or your uncle, but that you can actually leverage some of the tools that I shared with you today to grow your actual business and make some money. So digital skills kind of goes both ways. It goes the way of the actual entrepreneur who's running the business, but it also goes the way of those who are engaging online as well. When I was in Accra, I had quite a few entrepreneurs talk about how they wish that more Ghanaians were being educated on the importance of being truthful about how they are posting their profiles online, because that would only help them as a business to target those individuals as well. But if people are distrusting of digital platforms, they think it's a place where they're going to get scammed because they don't really understand how it works, how is that helping the overall entrepreneurship ecosystem? And so there's a lot of education across the board here on the continent and all over the world that I think needs to come into play when we talk about digital skills and literacy. And last is connectivity, because none of this is possible if no one has access to the internet. I mean, that's the fundamental issue. And some of us sit in places where we think connectivity is a no-brainer. I can just kind of browse all day, every day on my 5G network with no problem. But the reality is that in many parts of the world, that's not the case. I don't know if you guys have any idea what this map is that I'm showing you, but just to give you an idea, if you look at all the countries that are in yellow, these are countries where people have access to at least 4G internet access. Those in blue have access to 3G. In red, 2G connectivity. And those in black have no connectivity at all. So if you look at Africa and many parts of South America, there's a lot of work to do in terms of making sure that people are properly connected to the internet. That is democracy. That is allowing equal opportunity for people to live their very lives. Because you can't have certain economies where people have access constantly and others where people have none and expect the world to be able to compete on an equal scale. So as part of Facebook, one of our goals is to make the world more open and connected. And we have quite a few initiatives that we're currently working on to make some of that happen. One of them, I'm sure you may have heard, we have solar-powered planes that are looking to stream down internet onto different communities, satellites as well. Free Basics is amazing, if I don't say so myself. It's a great platform that allows people access to the web and to different websites specifically if they are on specific carriers. So here in South Africa, if you have a Cell C or I think a Vodacom also plan, you can access the internet or certain websites on the internet via Free Basics. Express Wi-Fi, another program where we're basically empowering entrepreneurs, people who can now sell Wi-Fi at affordable cost to others in their communities using sort of the infrastructure that we've built in these different respective areas. So definitely look for a lot more of that to happen over the next few years, next few months. I know Google's has quite a few other initiatives that they're doing, so Facebook's not the only one. I don't think there's a one person or one organization play, but it requires that we all sort of work together to ensure that people have connectivity to the internet. So I feel like I've probably reached my 20-minute max, so just to leave you guys with a few resources, if you remember anything that I said today, please at least walk away with some of these. And these are just places where you can get additional information on some of the stuff that I shared. One, Facebook Business. This is a website you can go to at any time to get insights, in addition to Facebook IQ, which I hope you guys wrote down as well. Facebook Business will give you insights and really inspiring stories of other entrepreneurs who are doing some great things on our platforms. You can just go by visiting facebook.com/business. Very simple. And the other one is Blueprint. So Blueprint is an e-learning course. Has anyone here taken a Blueprint course by chance? Yes, love it. Okay, so Blueprint is e-learning. There are probably over 50 modules that you can find on Blueprint. This is a platform that was originally, at its core, developed for the advertising community. So helping people who are managing huge budgets to understand how they can market on our platform. But we also have a number of really great modules for entrepreneurs and small businesses as well. So visit facebook.com/blueprint, check it out. Please make use of it. And I hope that you guys enjoyed my presentation. Thank you very much. And now I suppose I am to introduce, we're all introducing ourselves here. Yes, okay, thank you.